Thank you, Gunjan. Thank you, Professor Ganesh. And good afternoon to all of you. I did have a PowerPoint presentation, but there's no infrastructure here. So what a way to start innovation session, right? So be adaptive. And so what I'm going to do today is just share with you some thoughts of our research, what led us to think about the topic of this book, and where is it going from here, okay? In the 10 minutes allotted to me, I'll try to do whatever I can with that, and then we can take the rest of the questions. CK and I, who's a co-author for the book, as Gunjan mentioned, we've been working together for about 6 or 7 years now, and we've seen this 4 or 5 mega trends across the business world, and which we kind of started putting that together. And what we believe is that once you start putting these things together and look at the capabilities that are being created, you may, all the businesses, no matter which business you are in, you probably have to ask the question, is there a fundamental approach or the way in which the business model structure is changing? So let me clarify what I mean by that. So let's start with the mega trends that we're talking about. Number one is ubiquitous connectivity. For the first time in the history of mankind, you're going to have about 4 billion people connected through one device or the other, the cell phone, laptop, you name it. The second trend is the pervasiveness of digital technologies into business. The level of digitization that is happening is not just about automating the business processes, but also the emerging embedded intelligence into the products that companies are putting out there. Third is the convergence of technology in terms of, if you take a device like iPhone or a BlackBerry that all of us are carrying, you can ask the question, is it a phone, is it a PC, is it a camera, what is it? Okay? And so why does it actually matter? Because right from the business schools, we used to think about industry structures, the way to compete, this is how the business models exist in those industries, and this is the rules of competition. But think about it. Just 3 years back, Apple was not a competitor for Motorola. Okay? Now we can take that argument. It is not limited to just high-tech industries. The same thing is happening in pharmaceutical as well. Then the fourth trend is the emergence of social networks. For the first time, we are having a platform where we can bring together people in thematic communities based on their own interests, and we can bring them together, whether it is within companies, within businesses, or even in the political process we just saw recently. Right? Now, if you overlay globalization, which is like gravity, okay, on top of all these 3-4 trends, then you want to ask the question, probably there needs to be a new approach to wealth creation. Okay? What is the new approach? And that's what this book is all about. We say that we are seeing the contours of the emerging business models. And we call it in a very simple way. It is n equal to 1. I mean, equation should be easy for this crowd, and which is sample size of 1. Capital N is typically used in statistics for sample size. We say n equal to 1. What does it mean? Companies will not manufacture products and sell to mass customers, or design a service and sell to mass customers. They will co-create experience with every customer, one customer at a time. Let me give you an example. You go to the Google page. Google is a good example to start because all of us can relate to that. You can have your own page, I can have my page. I co-create the page on the platform that Google provides based on what I am interested in, and you do the same based on what you're interested in. Now, Google just orchestrates this experience, and they provide us a platform. The more we share about us, the more they learn, and the better the experience. That's how the model starts working. And it's not just about Google. Apple is the same model. Look at iPod. It is a game changer. Transformed the digital music industry. Think about it. What do? They have a platform. You and I create our own experience based on our playlist, what we like, what we want to hear, when we want to hear, depending upon the day of the week or time of the day, whatever it is, our mood. So they create a platform where I can hear my news when I want to, the content I want to, right? And you may not be doing the same thing. So that n equal to 1 experience, that's where the models are moving towards. And you will see this in insurance, you will see this in tires, shoes, all the places. There are more than 90 examples in the book. Now, on the other side of this, when you want to think about business model like this, these models are not going to be viable if you start thinking about owning all the resources that you require to deliver this n equal to 1 experience. When you start with Google, I told you that they are orchestrating this experience on the platform. But do they own any of these contents? They don't. They leverage through partnership with multiple partners. The same thing with Apple. They partner with amateur musicians, professional musicians, disk drive makers, memory chip makers to bring this experience one customer at a time. So you should not be looking at your company as a resource base or your business unit as a resource base. You expand that to look at the entire globe as the pool for your resource base. And then you selectively pick from that, partnering with big, small companies, sometimes even individuals. And we call that R equal to G, which means the resources will be global. Very interestingly, the concept of N equal to 1, R equal to G, is diametrically opposite to where all these business models today we have started from. The mass manufacturing, right? The concept of the factory, economies of scale, it all started actually at the background, in our backyard in Michigan, Ford Model T, right? We all remember that. You can have any color as long as it is black. What does it mean? It means undifferentiated customers. I have the scale, and I will utilize the scale economy to get that product to the customers. Nothing wrong with that model. I don't have anything wrong with that model, because it was the right model for the right time. For that time, it was the right model. But if you look at the capabilities that are available today, you probably don't have the right model if you're thinking that way. Then you can ask the question, well, probably not many companies are actually thinking that way today. We all talk about segmentation. We kind of segment the customers based on age and gender, income, whatever it is. But then we moved on from there to what is called as mass customization. Dell is a good example. But mass customization is still the company thinking that, well, I've done the research about customers. I think they want these 5 choices. They always pick one of these 5 choices. Anybody who has bought a computer on the web, a laptop or a PC, can experience what I'm talking about here, especially when they go to the video cards. They give you 3 options. I don't know how many of you figured out what exactly does it mean. It does not for the majority of the customers, right? That is a problem with mass customization. You go to the next step where you involve the customers one at a time and you co-create the experience for them. That's where we're moving. That's where we are seeing in shoes, in tires, insurance, in financial services, you name it, even in auto industry, coming back to Ford. Similarly, we started the resource base as a purely vertically integrated firm, again going back to Ford River Rouge plant in Michigan, where 100 years back, iron ore used to go from one end of the plant and used to have finished cars coming out from the other side, which means they made everything. From there, we moved on to supply base, because again, this was great for that time. There's no information base, there is no transparency. I had no idea which suppliers I can trust, what kind of risk I'm taking. Okay, but now we have supply chains. We started with suppliers, external suppliers, then supply chains. Now we will be moving more towards in the R equal to G model, which will be adaptive global network of resource bases. In other words, if you want to pull this N equal to 1, R equal to G, I think what we're going to see is that large companies and small companies coming in uniquely, interesting partnerships, and we'll see more and more of micro innovators, and we'll see models in which large companies will be tapping the resources of individuals and small groups. And that's where I think the opportunity for this panel is, in terms of the emergence of micro innovators, where you can play a part either as an incentive in Eli Lilly's R&D effort, or as an individual giving input to Nokia in terms of how to design a cell phone. These are all opportunities for micro innovators, and its investment capacity is not going to be the limiting factor. It's going to be capacity to collaborate, capacity to work on shared platforms, and leverage global talent. I'm going to stop here. Thank you.